Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 649. Welcome in. Today's kind of a weird episode. We're doing 2 episodes this week. If you didn't notice, there was no episode last week. There's a reason for that. I had a really insane week last week. On Saturday, ask my girlfriend Molly. I crashed, dude. I slept harder on Saturday than I have in a long time. We'll get into why. There's been some a development in my life that I'm figuring out. It's stressful. It's fun. I don't know how to figure it out yet. Meaning, like, how am I going to do it time-wise? How am I going to, like, my brain is working on overload constantly to try to figure this out. But it's going to be, it's a thing I have to do, basically. We'll talk about why. Later this week, so it's the week of July 4th, meaning Thursday is a holiday, July 4th, July 5th, my company isn't open. I got a lot of time this week, and we're going to do 2 episodes this week. The episode later this week, we're going to talk about the Patriots a lot. We're going to talk about Bill Belichick and kind of criticize Bill and be very honest about the way things went down, what happened, some decisions Bill Belichick made that really influenced the health of the Patriots organization, the health of their former young quarterback, Mac Jones. We got some sound bites we'll play about that. I've also got some clips. Since we're going to be on the Patriots anyway, I want to play a clip or 2 from Tom Brady's Patriots Hall of Fame ceremony. He gave a great speech. It was very motivational, actually. I really loved it. There's one more thing I want to talk about. I can't remember what it is. It's in my notes. The stadiums happened. There's NFL news, I guess I'm trying to acknowledge to you. We're not going to talk about today. We're going to talk about it later this week. That episode will come out probably July 5th, the day after the holiday. Okay? Fair enough. Before we do anything today, I want to tell you about today's sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the start of any sporting event. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I would probably go watch a Mariners game up in Seattle, maybe get concert tickets. But the key is, with Game Time, you can get last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theaters, or etc. There's flash deals. You can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. There are zone deals where you can save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats for you. There's all-in pricing, where toggling that feature shows the total amount up front with no surprise fees at the end, so no hidden fees at checkout. You've got seat views, where you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy your ticket. And there's a couple ways Game Time has your back. First of all, if you find tickets in the same section and row for a lower price, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. They've got job loss assurance, where if you lose your job and need a refund, Game Time has got you covered. There's event cancellation protection, where you can get automatic full refunds for events that are canceled and not rescheduled. And there's a 24-hour return guarantee, where you can return your tickets within 24 hours from time of purchase for a full credit to your Game Time account. No questions asked. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, that's one ad. Our other sponsor today, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks truly has something for every sports fan, from basketball and hockey to League of Legends and everything in between. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app. Making picks makes watching games more engaging, and you could turn something like $5 into $50. Prize Picks offers quick and easy deposits. You can even use Apple Pay. So put your skills to the test in daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Daily fantasy made easy. All right. here's what I want to talk about today. And we got, let's do two things actually. I want to talk about one bit of news. Then we're going to get into something that's going to be kind of an interesting one. First of all, breaking news this week. It's a big deal to me. LeBron James is in a relationship with the mother of one of his teammates, which is a really scandalous sentence until you realize that's because in the NBA draft in the second round, 55th overall, the LA Lakers drafted LeBron James' son, Bronny James, which is crazy. LeBron James is teammates with his son, which, look, man, you can say all kinds of stuff about nepotism, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I think it's interesting and cool. Is LeBron James' son good enough to get, at minimum, like a minor NBA contract? Yeah, I guess. It's good for his son. His son's set for life. He's going to make a couple $1 million. I like that LeBron James' son wasn't a first-round pick. That would have made no sense. He's not good enough to justify that. And it's cool to see, again, the nepotism stuff, whatever. Here's my angle on this. It makes sense to me. Everyone always compares Michael Jordan and LeBron James. To me, there's no comparison. I really am not a fan of Michael Jordan. He seems like, pardon my French, an asshole. He sucks. He's mean. He's arrogant. He would have been awful to be a teammate with. And there's such a long list of accomplishments that LeBron James has that Michael Jordan never did. One of them is this, though. Being a great dad, right? And maybe playing basketball with your own son. It's so cool. I like, no matter how you look at it, I think it's wildly interesting. It's fun. It's going to be a fun storyline to follow this NBA season. LeBron on the same team as his own son. That's just, no matter how you look at it, that's wild and cool. And I think everyone growing up, if you could have been anyone, like literally anyone growing up, if you told me, hey, someday you're going to be on the same professional sports team as your own father, that's wild. That's so fun. That's so exciting. My dad, God bless him, had no athletic ability at all. That was not even a possibility to be on the same sports team as my dad. But it would have been so fun. And it's just crazy cool and interesting to me this is happening at all. And I don't know, man. I think it's worth acknowledging, hey, LeBron and his son are teammates. I think that's awesome and beautiful and very, very cool. So we acknowledged it. That's the big piece of news that I think it would have been weird to like have an episode today and not talk about that at all. Now, let's talk about something. I'm probably going to put it in the title of the episode, so you already probably know what we're going to talk about. I have been coaching high school football very briefly. It's been a lot of, I've met the kids. I have done a passing league. I have done a lot of meetings where I'm designing the offense. We'll talk about that in a moment. Here's the thing. So a couple weeks ago, I put it out to the world to my friends, hey, like, someday I would like to coach high school football. It'd be really cool and interesting. And maybe because I'm at a new job this year. I'm getting established. I'm in sales. My company shares a parking lot with Tigard High School. And I thought, hey, maybe next year in 2025, I'll reach out to Tigard High School. I could probably talk my way onto a coaching staff. I know football really well. Surely they would need help volunteering with like their freshman football team or something, and I could get myself involved and work my way up the ladder till maybe someday, like in a couple years from then, I could be coaching varsity at Tigard High School. I thought coaching varsity football was going to take me a while to get to that point. Well, I find myself now as the offensive coordinator at David Douglas High School, the varsity. It happened really fast. It's because I know people from there. People that are involved there were like, hey, we need help. Full transparency, I went to David Douglas High School for 2 years. It is, Google it if you want. It's a horrible, horrible football program. They haven't won in a long time. I went there for 2 years. I hated the head coach. He told me I was not going to play varsity. I said, suck my blank, and I left. And I went to another high school in the suburbs where I set records and won multiple playoff games and had a great time. David Douglas was a painful memory for me that really frustrated me because I wanted to win there. And here's the thing about David Douglas High School. A lot of people may or may not know this. I went to high school with multiple NFL players. At my first high school, not my second high school. My second high school, everyone's an average, mediocre athlete. They're all like accountants and sell insurance. But my first high school, David Douglas High School, Southeast Portland, frankly, an inner city school, was chock full of the best athletes I've ever met in my entire life, and they were grossly mismanaged. One of my good friends played in the SEC from David Douglas. However, his route to the SEC was unjust and wrong. It bothered me tremendously. He had to walk onto a junior college after his senior year and then eventually earn a scholarship at Missouri where he was an all-conference defensive end. Do you understand how badly coached and badly managed your program has to be for a guy who's 6'5", who ends up playing all-conference in the SEC, to not get a scholarship after his senior year? That's what we're working with. It really frustrated me. I hated the former coaching staff. I hated the coaches that followed after that. There's one coach, Josh Dill. I love him. I don't think he was the right fit for the coach, for the coach of that program, given certain circumstances we won't get into. But he's a good guy. I like him. I think he really tried his best. Every other coach, other than one guy named Josh Dill, shout out to Josh, I love you, they were not the right fit for the program. This is a program that hasn't won a game in 2 years. They were running the wing tee offense in the inner city. I'm sorry. If you're not throwing the football in 2024, who's going to want to play for your program? And this is a main problem with David Douglas High School, is that the best athletes that live in the district end up going to either a private Catholic high school, Central Catholic, or LaSalle, or they literally find a way to get an address and go to a different high school because they want to play for a winning football program. What I'm saying is, the best athletes in this inner city school don't go to this school because the football program is terrible. And it bothers me to no end, because the reality is David Douglas High School has some of the best athletes in Oregon and should win a lot. And they don't, and it bothers me. So they hired a new coach who is, he is what's the right word here? He's the right person for the job. He's from Southeast Portland. He understands the people. He gets it. He's the right coach for the area. It makes me really excited. However, the offense has no one to lead them. They've got a really good defense. My friend Marcel played in the SEC. He's going to help with the defense. They're fixing the defense. But they don't have anyone to work with the offense. And I met the kids, and the kids are really good. This is the problem here. They've got this kid, Eli, for example. He's a wide receiver. He's 6'2". He should have a scholarship. He's going to be a junior this year. He's better than any receiver I ever played with, ever, at any level, college, high school, anywhere. He's better than any receiver I ever played with. He should have a scholarship. Here's my conundrum. If I don't help this program, I don't know who's going to. The offense is a mess. They're not organized. The quarterback doesn't know coverages. It's not his fault. I feel bad for the quarterback because he's been let down by every coach he's ever had. He's going to be a junior. He can run. He can throw. I just got to teach him how to read a defense, and we can do that. The hard stuff is figured out. The kid can throw really well. And I see a program that hasn't won in 2 years, that has good athletes, that should be winning, that isn't. And I go, man, I can make a difference there. And that's what I'm doing. I am offensive coordinator. I said that earlier. Like, look, first of all, I don't care what my title is. I think I'm going to be calling the plays. I told the head coach, Jay Williams is awesome. I said, look, I'm not helping unless I have some power and some control here, because I can only help so much. If, the offensive line has to get help. The defensive side of the football is taken care of, but receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, offensive line, the things I know really well, they got to be all on the same page, and they got to be doing things that make sense for them. We got to simplify everything. We're back at square one as a program. It's a program that hasn't won in a couple of years. Literally, I think they didn't win a game last year. They were running a wing tee offense. So these kids, they've got the fundamentals of football down, but I have to install everything. It's going to be really interesting. And I can't walk away from it because I see a kid, Eli, for example, a 6'2" wide receiver, who I think if we do things right by him and design the right offense, I don't know if he's going to have a scholarship at Oregon State or Washington State or Eastern Washington, maybe D1 AA school. Maybe he's more like a Central Washington, a Division II scholarship athlete. But he's a kid who's got a 3.9 GPA, a great supportive dad. I've met the dad. He's awesome. He's not one of the helicopter dads. He's just a dad who's supportive and cares. He's got the skills. He's got the grades. He's got the support. This kid should go to college and play football somewhere. They need help. And what's really cool about this is we're not going to do complicated stuff. Like, the offense I'm designing is actually very simple. But you don't need complicated stuff when you've got better athletes than the people you're competing against. And I see a world where this inner city school from Southeast Portland can beat the really rich schools in the suburbs. They've got better athletes. We got to get organized. I got to teach a lot of football. And I don't, look, frankly, time-wise, I'm starting a new job. I've got a podcast to do. I've got a lot of responsibility. I've got a girlfriend. I have no idea how to do this time-wise. But I'm having a hard time walking away from the possibility of helping a lot of kids get to college, quite frankly. And I've just seen a program, David Douglas, that my entire life has been horribly mismanaged. They've hired old white dudes to coach inner city student athletes that just don't relate to the kids, that don't get it. The coach I played for there, I hated him so much. I really did. And he didn't do right by the athletes there. Guys who were in the NFL had to overcome being coached by him to make it to the NFL. I'll say that. If I ever see him to his face, I will tell him that. Hey, the guys who are in the NFL that you take credit for made it in spite of you, not because of you. One of my friends plays for the Colts. He had to go to Eastern Washington University, a D1 AA program. He got drafted alongside Cooper Kupp to the Rams. He should have gone to Oregon. He should have had a bigger school recruiting him. And this coach, the former coach, made it harder for kids to get recruited. I hate him with a passion. That's probably a little strong. If I see him, I'll tell it to his face. I'm the kind of person, I hold you accountable. And if I meet you in person, I have no problem telling you my problem with you to your face. This is a thing that has happened in my life recently. It bothers me. And here's what I care about. I want to help the kids. I really see a lot of kids that have got potential, that need guidance. And clearly, whoever was working with them before, my quarterback doesn't know cover two. That's not his fault. That's the former coach for not teaching him the proper things of how to play football. The proper things you need to know to play quarterback in high school football. Hey, you probably should know what cover 1, 2, 3, and 4 are. It's basic stuff. And if you don't know that, that's not your fault, kid. That's not the quarterback's fault. That's his coach for not helping him properly. So, yes, shots fired, I guess. I don't care. I always say stuff and I deal with the consequences. Good friend of mine recently was talking a lot of crap about his wife. And I was like, his ex-wife, excuse me. And I said, hey, that's still the mother of your children. You don't talk to her about her that way. That's not right. I'm not cool with that. I'm never going to be cool with that. I called him out. I call people out. I say what I believe, and I deal with the consequences of that. I'm going to be coaching at David Douglas this year. I want to help out. I see an opportunity to really help. I don't know if we're going to win this year. Let's be very clear. We got a long way to go. But we got a couple athletes who I think, if we design the right offense, can get a scholarship. And that's everything to me. If that's all we do, if we lose a bunch of games, but Eli gets a scholarship, that's a year of good work to me that I can live with. I think you can tell I'm very passionate about this. It's going to take time, but Jay Williams is the head coach there. I really believe in him. And I've been waiting to get involved with David Douglas for a long time, hoping maybe someday they would hire the right head coach. They have. And I hope it's a situation where I can be helpful because I really want to help. And I believe in the program. I believe in the people of Southeast Portland. And look, some of the athletes I've met from David Douglas are the best athletes I've met in my entire life. Look up Osaru Odigizua. Look up Samson Ibukam. Look up Marcel Frazier. Guys who played in the NFL I went to high school with. And that's a losing football program. If you have NFL players on your high school football team, you should win a lot of games. So like I said, I'm coaching high school football. I thought it was going to take me a long time to get involved with varsity, and now I find myself designing a varsity offense from ground zero. Where I'm installing the literally the run game, the passing game. I'm telling linemen what they're doing, their responsibilities for quick game, for deeper pass sets. It's really fascinating, and I think it's July 1st. I think it's a thing that throughout the fall, September, October, into the first week of November, it's going to be a storyline we get to talk about on the podcast. It's going to be a background character of the show. I'm going to cover the NFL, I'm going to cover college football, and then probably at the end of every episode, hey, how's coaching high school football going? Yeah, we got our asses kicked again. It sucked, but Eli had 6 touchdowns. Like, that's going to be, I think, really the kind of theme of this show is professional sports, and then, hey, 15, 20 minutes at the end of how the heck is coaching high school football going. But it's a weird experiment for me. It's an opportunity to really, look, I've talked about football for a long time on the podcast. This is an opportunity for me to really test everything I've ever said I believe. And really kind of, well, fine, let's find out. Let's find out. Does Zach really know what he's talking about football? For example, like with the passing game, I've renamed everything and simplified everything. And every name, so an H sound coincides with our play that runs hitches. The V name in our system coincides with verticals. The C coincides with running a corner, a smash concept. The F name coincides with running a fade out concept. We're simplifying stuff. We've got a family of plays that all have similar names that coincide together to make it easier for the receivers. And I want to teach everyone a couple coverages, why we're doing what we're doing, why we're converting vertically when you're getting pressed. You don't run a 5-yard hitch if you're getting pressed, little stuff like that. If I can teach these kids a couple basic things, I think they are talented enough. I don't know if we can win. We're going to score a lot of points, though, and that's going to be really fun. We're going to throw the football like 40 times a game. I got no shame about that. That's the people we have. The receiving core we have is really good, and it's going to be really fun. And I think it's going to be a what are we like? If you told me a year ago, by the way, July 1st, 2023, I would be living in downtown Portland. I'd be with my future wife, Molly, my girlfriend who's changed my life and been amazing. I'd be coaching high school football. I'd be working in sales and HVAC. I would have laughed at you. Like, so much has happened in the last year of my life. And I guess I leave you with this. Before I move on to answer Patreon questions or whatever, a lot can happen in a year. If you're not happy, if your life isn't going well, start making changes. Do the little things to work on yourself and take care of things behind the scenes because, man, my life, I think it's pretty obvious, is completely different than it was a year ago. I encourage you, go find whatever episode came out around this time a year ago. I think I just moved to Hawaii, actually. Like, all right, now I live here, and it's very different. I love you. I appreciate you. I don't know what's going to come of this high school football thing, but I care about helping the athletes, helping the kids, and doing right by them and getting them scholarships. And whether they get football scholarships or academic scholarships, their parents are low income. It's a really poor part of Portland, Oregon. I know for a fact there's scholarship money for low-income kids and for student athletes. And they should be going to college. They should be going to trade school. They should be getting good jobs after high school. This is a very achievable goal that I personally want to take accountability for and take responsibility for making happen. I've seen too much of the world, and I've been around enough to know, hey, these kids can get out. And I want to help them do that. So, I guess I'm designing the offense at David Douglas High School, a winless football program with really good athletes. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be wildly interesting and fun. My quarterback is awesome. I really like him. I don't think he knows what to make of me yet. I think he's had a lot of coaches mistreat him and not help him properly and maybe make false promises. I communicate very directly. And I think he's like, what's wrong with this guy? I think he honestly doesn't know yet that I'm serious. I want to help him and teach him football. All three of my quarterbacks are good athletes. So if he gets hurt, I got another kid behind him. Every one of my quarterbacks can run and throw, which means that there's a lot of possibilities, and it's going to be really interesting. So, guys, I'm coaching high school football at a school I went to, that a program I'm really passionate about, that I've got strong opinions on, clearly. But it's a program that, for me, has been, for years, they should have been winning, and they haven't. And to now have a chance to be involved and see if I can make a difference there is pretty cool. And look, if I do a terrible job and I got to walk away, that's fine. I will own. I'm pretty realistic. If I suck at my job and I'm a terrible offensive coordinator, fine. But certainly I can't be any worse than what was before. Again, I don't mind having some shots fired because I talked to the quarterback. I learned his understanding of offenses. It's basically nothing. And if whoever was the quarterback coach before was working with him, they weren't teaching him anything. And that's disappointing and frustrating. All right. Wow. That's hopefully not going to get me in a lot of trouble. We'll see. We'll find out. Again, I will handle and deal with the consequences of everything I say. Now, let's answer questions from Patreon. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Zach Schomler. Patreon.com/Zach Schomler. It's $1 a month. You can donate more if you want to. Please do. It literally helps me take care of my bills. $1 a month gives you access to submit questions on Patreon. Now, I do not guarantee to read your question on the show. My only guarantee is I look at every single write-in with my eyeballs and I pick the top couple to read on the show. However, if you write in, you get a very strong likelihood. If you can write in a full sentence and it makes sense, I'll probably read it on the show. There's There were 17 write-ins this week. 3 of them didn't get used. They'll get used next week. Like that's the reality. If you write in, you're probably going to get your question read on the show. I like interacting with the audience. It's a really fun thing to do. Question number 1 today is from SDS 4800. He says, "Hey, HVAC Zach. Recently, I was scrolling on Facebook when I came across a post that stated the following. Many won't understand the love between a man and the mediocre receiver or any player they watched as a kid. Seeing how my favorite player as a kid was and still kind of is Ryan Fitzpatrick, it rang a bit true, but that got me wondering. Was there any player that you loved to watch that was like that? Never really amazing or flashy, but has that place in your memory for whatever reason? I have one answer, and he was flashy in college. My favorite quarterback as a kid, other than Tom Brady, and okay, that's not even true. Not even close to my favorite quarterback growing up. But a quarterback I had deep affinity for. I played with him in Madden 11, and he was awful. He was like a 66 overall in Madden 11, but he was always my quarterback because I thought it was a fun challenge, and he had really good short accuracy. So like I could throw slants and flat routes and medium intermediate stuff all day, and he was really accurate. He couldn't throw the ball more than 20 yards. But my favorite quarterback in Madden was Colt Brennan. Colt Brennan, the former University of Hawaii quarterback, the kid with the visor and the arm sleeves. And man, oh man, I loved Colt Brennan. May he rest in peace. I was a big fan of him in college. He was awesome, so fun to watch. I think a lot of people know I love Hawaii. I lived there for a while. I care deeply about Hawaii. And Colt Brennan was always my Madden quarterback. Was he a good professional quarterback? No. Was he even a good quarterback in Madden? No. He was awful. But he could throw the ball. He could throw a slant. He could throw a hitch route. He could throw like a flat route to the running back. That's all I really needed in Madden. I could dominate people that way. And it was, I think, like for real, Madden 11 is my favorite football video game of all time. Whenever I played with like really talented quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, I think Donovan McNabb was really good in that game. He was also free agent, or no, with Washington, can't remember. But like all the good quarterbacks in that game, it's borderline unfair for me to play with them because it's too easy. Like I know that sounds like bragging, but the reality is like I'm so good at Madden 11. Specifically, like I'm terrible at the new Maddens. They like the player movement is different, the playbooks are different, the physics are different. But specifically Madden 11, I'm like godlike status. I can dominate people. And so for me, it wasn't very fun to do franchise mode with like a good quarterback because I would just put up like 47 points and win 49-20, whatever, right? I always needed an extra challenge, which was to play with a lesser quarterback. And what I would usually do is I would take on the Houston Texans. I would trade Matt Schaub away because he was actually, again, he was too good. Like he was talented. And I would put Andre Johnson at tight end, actually. I'd make Colt Brennan, my quarterback. Colt Brennan was my guy. Quarterback, he could run a little bit, make every short throw. Andre Johnson at tight end. I put Deshaun Jackson. I would always trade Matt Schaub for Deshaun Jackson. I'd put Deshaun Jackson at running back, actually. And then I just flat routes all day, and I would just kill people, and it was so fun. And I would do a lot of motions, and my friends would play me and get disappointed they could never beat me. And that's not. I wouldn't play my friends in franchise mode, obviously, but I would just play them in Madden 11. I'm still to this day like really, really good. Specifically and only specifically at Madden 11. But Colt Brennan was my quarterback, and that's my mediocre player that I just I've got this affinity for. I love Colt Brennan. May he rest in peace. I'm sad he's no longer with us, but I loved watching him at Hawaii. I loved playing with him in Madden. That is my one player that I just really, really. Who's not a good football player that I just loved. I really, really loved him. Davis writes in, no question, Zach, just a funny thing that came in my head. Washington drafted 2 quarterbacks. One quarterback who was electric and can move, and a quarterback who went to a Midwest school and was drafted in the late rounds. The Matrix is real. I hear you. So I think, Davis, what you're referring to is the year that RG3 was drafted number 2 overall, and then Kirk Cousins was drafted in the 3rd round. So you're saying, hey, they had a fast, athletic quarterback drafted first, then a quarterback that was less athletic drafted second. Here's where you're a little bit off the mark, Davis, is that, this year they brought in Jaden Daniels. He was a 2nd overall pick at Washington, but they didn't draft. Their other quarterback you're referring to is another rookie quarterback, Sam Hartman. who would be the Kirk Cousins equivalent in this scenario, the less athletic, different type of quarterback. And the problem is they didn't draft Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman was undrafted. He wasn't as good as Kirk Cousins was coming out of Michigan State. Kirk Cousins, I really thought was going to be a good NFL player. He ended up being a really good NFL player. Sam Hartman, I'm really skeptical of. I'm open-minded. We'll watch him in the preseason. But I hear what you're saying. It's a weird parallel that, the year they drafted a quarterback, number 2 overall, who was really athletic, they also got another rookie quarterback, Kirk Cousins, RG3 Kirk. Now they've got Jaden Daniels and Sam Hartman. But Sam Hartman is just not in the same conversation as Kirk Cousins was as a rookie. Not the same level athlete. He wasn't drafted. He was actually picked up as an undrafted free agent. The Matrix is real. I hear you, like the weird coincidence and the repeated history, but I would challenge you that, again, Sam Hartman and Kirk Cousins are not the same quarterback. Dustin writes in with a very fair question. This came up a lot. Dustin said, "Hey, Zach, I was watching last week's episode when I heard you say that the violence of professional wrestling made you uncomfortable. My question is, how do you see the violence in pro wrestling and in football to be any different? I'm genuinely curious. Would love to hear your perspective. Writing with love, from Georgia." So this is a very fair question. I said part of what makes me uncomfortable with wrestling is I don't understand or know the people who are fighting. I don't know how much money they're making, and I don't know who they are. The more familiar I am with the people getting beat up, the easier it is to watch. I don't know why that is psychologically, but that's true. When I see random strangers getting beat up and thrown across a concrete floor, I go, that's weird and uncomfortable. I don't like that. In football, the violence is a little less direct. You're getting hit. You're wearing pads. It's still violent. It's still part of the game. I understand that. But it's not. You're not getting punched in the face. You're not getting body slammed. I guess you are technically, but you're wearing pads. It's a different situation. I also played football. I've never done combat sports. I guess I got in a fight like once in 5th grade, but I don't. I'm uncomfortable watching grown men beat each other up. I don't like it. Football, I think, again, whether this makes sense or not, I acknowledge it might be cognitive dissonance. This logic may not track, but for me, the violence in football is a little less direct. You're not getting directly punched in the face. You're wearing pads. It's all part of the game to tackle somebody rather than to inflict. Your goal in combat sports is to make someone feel pain. But the other worst thing, I prefer the UFC actually to wrestling. Wrestling has this added level of fakeness and weird. At least in the UFC, I know they're getting paid lots of money, and it's the objective is very clear. Wrestling, the fakeness of it, the performance aspect of it, it just is very weird for me. And I told the story on that episode. I encourage you to go back and listen. I was in Cabo, Mexico at a resort watching employees of the resort do some kind of wrestling fighting thing. And these guys were like slamming each other on the ground. And I'm wondering watching this, hey, what are these guys making financially? Are they going to get paid enough that their back problems and their 40 are going to be covered? I don't know. Violence even in football is an uncomfortable part for me. Like I really worry about the guys who play for a couple of years, they don't make it, they make some money, but then they get out and then they've got knee problems the rest of their life. And I worry, does the NFL do enough to care for those guys? So look, transparency, right? The violence in football makes me uncomfortable to some degree as well, but the direct violence, the punching in the face, the hitting concrete floors, the guys who, the random strangers in Mexico wrestling, where people are literally yelling, "Kill him!" That's deeply uncomfortable to me. I don't like that. That's weird for me. I'm just not. Nope, don't love that. And that's a me thing. If you don't agree with that, that's fine. Feel free to live your life and do whatever makes you happy. I don't like wrestling. It makes me uncomfortable. The fakeness of it, the weird performance aspect of it, the much more direct violence than in football. And look, I am happy to cover this topic further. If people write in challenging my belief, hold me accountable, that's fine. I'm just sharing my own personal discomfort with the violence of wrestling. And if you don't agree, that's totally fine. You can have your own opinion. But for me, it makes me feel like I feel weird and awkward watching, specifically wrestling. I would rather watch UFC or actually fighting, where it's direct, real fighting. That's actually somehow, for some reason, even more comfortable than the fake, weird performance storytelling wrestling thing. Wrestling is this specific like threading the needle of like weird storytelling, violence, but it seems inauthentic. It's this weird threading the needle of all these things that make me uncomfortable, and they all kind of converge into this ball of like the WWE is not my cup of tea at all. I've watched it once for a couple minutes and I didn't like it, and I was like, you know what? This is cringy, and I don't find it enjoyable at all. And if you do, good for you. I'm happy for you. I don't like WWE. Specifically wrestling, not combat sports. Wrestling specifically is what I really don't enjoy. All right. Landon says, what's up, podcast Zach? Would you rather be trapped in a mall for 24 hours with 5 black mambas or 1 silverback gorilla? Things to keep in mind. All the lights in the mall are on, and the black mambas are spread throughout the mall, and you can only defend yourself with things inside. Would love to hear how you would spend your 24 hours. Well, let's be very clear. 5 snakes or a silverback gorilla, not even comparable. What's way more capable than a snake, a silverback gorilla? I would never spend 24 hours with a silverback gorilla. 5 snakes? Like how fast is a snake? Like how fast? Let's Google this. How fast is a snake? Well, it says, how fast is a black mamba? Is a black mamba. How fast is a black mamba? 12 miles an hour. So like not slow, but how fast is a silverback gorilla? How fast is a silverback gorilla? A silverback gorilla can run at speeds of 23 to 25 miles per hour. Also, a silverback gorilla is way stronger. It can tear you limb from limb. They can jump 26 feet at speeds of up to 35 miles an hour. A silverback gorilla is way more scary than 5 snakes. Yes, are they incredibly deadly snakes? From what I know, black mambas rated best to worst. So, which is more poisonous, a black mamba or a copperhead? There's no comparison. A copperhead is uncomfortable to be bitten by, but nothing compared to the deadly black mamba. So you'll die if you get bit by a black mamba. But again, an entire mall with 5 snakes. How big are these snakes? Black mamba size. Black mamba size. A black mamba is 6 to 8 feet long maximum, right? 6 to 8 feet long, maximum 14 feet. So they're not small snakes. They are long snakes. They are a really fast snake. I really think I could survive for 24 hours in a mall. I'm thinking a big mall with 5 different snakes spread throughout the mall. Like I can go 24 hours. Maybe I die. Like maybe. And maybe the silverback gorilla wouldn't attack me, but maybe it would. And I'm way more afraid of a gorilla in a confined space than I am of a snake. A snake, I don't see a reason why a snake wouldn't just leave me alone. It would see me and be like, oh yeah, that guy's big. I'm going to go the other way. And I could avoid the snake. Call me crazy. Please write in and let me know. Am I insane? But I think avoiding 5 snakes in a mall for 24 hours is a lot easier than even risking an encounter with a silverback gorilla. I'm imagining it ripping my arms off and then hitting me with my arms. I'm imagining trying to run away and it chasing me down and having fun with me like a toy. Like I'm good. A snake can't pick me up and throw me like 100 yards. A gorilla can. A gorilla... I mean, is there anything more intimidating if you're locked in a room? Let's think about this. So again, we've decided snake all the way. I'll take 5 black mambas. I don't care how poisonous they are. They can't throw me. Here's the question. Would you rather be locked in a room with a gorilla, a hippo, or I don't even know. Like what else is out there? Like I think a chimpanzee, I guess. Like are they the same? A gorilla and chimp are different, I believe. Gorilla versus chimp. Oh, that's that. Maybe don't Google that. That's gorilla versus chimp is that's a bad fight. I don't want to see. Chimpanzees are a lot lighter than gorillas. They're also taller. So a gorilla, dude, gorillas and a hippopotamus are the 2 animals that I'm good. I don't want to mess with. Gorillas are massive. They can rip you limb from limb, like the same way a human would. They're way more powerful than you. And a hippopotamus will attack people, even though they eat vegetables. Like they don't eat meat at all. They'll just attack you because they're territorial and mean. Do you know a hippo sweats like blood, like red? There's a red. They look like they're bleeding. Hippopotamus secrete a red like mucus out of their bodies to keep them from getting too hot. They look like they're like this red. Google it. I'm going to Google it too. Hippopotamus red. Hippo red sweat. Dude, it's the most... It's kind of terrifying. They look like they're bleeding. It's... what is the word? Hipposidoric acid is a red pigment found in the skin secretions of the hippopotamus. Although it's often known as blood sweat. They neither bleed. They neither are blood nor sweat. It's to protect the hippo from sunburn. So hippos have their own sunscreen that's red that burns around their faces and looks like blood. It's horrifying. Hippos and gorillas, the two animals Zach will never, ever, ever mess with. Now here's a real question. A hippo or gorilla? I think if I was locked in a room with a gorilla, I could probably maybe make friends with it. I maybe could convince the creature to not attack me for 24 hours. Maybe it would, but I'm almost certain a hippo would just out of territorial, what's the right word? Boundaries would attack me. So I would rather be locked in a room with a gorilla than a hippopotamus. I think I'm safer. Like, I think I could communicate enough with the gorilla, maybe keep it happy enough, entertained enough to not attack me for 24 hours, and then I'd get the hell out of Dodge. I think a hippo would just kill me, honestly. So that's the answer to your question. You're welcome, I guess. Thanks for the write-in, Landon. George writes in. George says, hello, Zach. Season 3 of The Bear premieres next week, and I remember you mentioned that you watch it. I wonder if it hits too close to home for you in both the positive and negative manner. In my opinion, I believe it's the best show right now. That got me thinking of my Mount Rushmore of TV shows. I'll have to start off with Game of Thrones, although the final season was a disappointment. Others on my list are The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, and Band of Brothers. What's on your list of greatest TV shows of all time? I've never seen The Sopranos, Band of Brothers, or Breaking Bad, actually. My girlfriend keeps telling me her and I gotta watch Band of Brothers. She loves Band of Brothers. By the way, my girlfriend is like way, way cooler than me. Let's acknowledge that right away. She's like a black cat girlfriend. We talked about this. She doesn't like people very much in like the best way possible. She's just, her social battery is very low. I'm like a golden retriever. She's like a black cat. She's cooler than me. She's really interesting. She's trying to get me to watch Band of Brothers all the time. That's probably our next show we're going to watch. For me, and greatest show of all time is too much responsibility for me. Greatest assumes a level of quality that is like everyone would agree on. I can't do that. I can only tell you my favorite shows of all time that I respect and think are amazing. So I have Game of Thrones, Reacher, the Amazon Prime series, and Star Trek Discovery. Game of Thrones, amazing storytelling. It's engaging. The final season, I actually liked the end of the final season, but I'm one of the few people who thought, like, yeah, I always felt like, hey, Game of Thrones is historically known for horrifying, sad endings. I never expected it to end happy or good or satisfying. So I got the ending I expected, but I was the only person who was like, yeah, it's fine. That works for me. Reacher is my favorite. I love the book series Jack Reacher. The TV show Reacher got the guy from Blue Mountain State, the guy who plays Thad Castle in that show, plays Jack Reacher. He nails it. He's amazing. It's exactly like the books. I've never seen a book better adapted to TV than Reacher is. Star Trek Discovery is my favorite Star Trek show. I love space. I love exploration. If I could, I would go into space and explore other planets. You can't. We live in 2024. It's not really a possibility. Star Trek Discovery gives you that sense of fun and wistfulness and wonder that I love about Star Trek. So Star Trek Discovery is my third favorite show of all time. The fourth spot is where it gets really difficult. Because then we're talking either The Expanse, Bosch, or The Bear. I love The Expanse. It's more space exploration, but I think Star Trek Discovery is better, so probably not The Expanse. Bosch is really fun because it's detective-y and thriller, but I also already have Jack Reacher, so maybe Bosch and Reacher are too similar. We'll go with Reacher. They're both Amazon Prime shows, both based on books, actually, too. So then I think I would go with number 4 as being The Bear. The Bear is about a restaurant. It's totally different from Reacher, Game of Thrones, or Star Trek Discovery. It's its own separate thing. And then when you got Game of Thrones, Jack Reacher, and Star Trek Discovery, and then The Bear, they're all very different types of shows with very different themes and different categories of, content, basically. So I think that's kind of my Mount Rushmore is The Bear, Star Trek Discovery, Reacher, and Game of Thrones. Those are my favorite shows of all time. But mind you, I'm an idiot guy. I've never seen The Sopranos, never seen Breaking Bad or Band of Brothers. I think Seinfeld deserves an honorable mention. It's my favorite comedy of all time. Like Seinfeld, I like Friends a lot too. but nothing entertains me the way Seinfeld does. I really think it holds up. It's amazing. It's a great show. It's worth mentioning in the conversation of greatest TV shows of all time. All right, here's a long write-in. It's worth it, though. Caleb says, hey, Zaddy. Please don't. But call me Zach. HVAC Zach, podcast Zach. Zaddy is just wrong. Don't like that. Caleb says, hey, Zaddy. I was listening to episode 647, and while I am a biased Jaguars fan, I think Trevor Lawrence has done better than he's given credit for. For example, his first year was basically a wash under Urban Meyer. His second was a much improved season, catching fire at the end and winning a playoff game. This past year, the Jaguars were 8-3 atop the AFC conference before Trevor Lawrence got hurt and went on an abysmal performance, ending the season at 9-8. I think the Jaguars see and realize that if he doesn't get hurt, it goes down as one of the best years for Jaguars fans, as there are few and far between. He means good years have been few and far between. Also, several episodes ago, you mentioned being excited about seeing Gardner Minshew possibly beat the Jaguars this coming year, as he'd be playing his former team, even though they played a while he was the Colts quarterback in a game where the Jaguars dominated, making me feel that there was a reason the Jaguars moved on from Gardner Minshew. Sorry for the way too long write-in. Much love from Texas. P.S. Trevor Lawrence is only making $15 million this year and $17 million next year, so they can still build around him. Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence's contract, and I think it's deserving of a film breakdown. We'll do that. I keep saying that. I've got so many film analysis videos in my head and on my laptop unfinished, but I'm working on them slowly. I'm a very busy person. My life is finally getting a sense of stability. And by the way, right as I get stability, I start coaching high school football, which is stupid, but we're doing it, so whatever. Here's the thing. For me, Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback the Jaguars have ever had. And if they're comfortable paying him a ton of money and their fan base is comfortable paying him a ton of money, that's fine. Is he worthy of being the highest paid quarterback in the NFL? No, not even close, but sure. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback the Jaguars have ever had. That's an accurate statement in my opinion. And I think you're overpaying him. I'm glad they're not paying him. They're paying him $15 million this year, $17 million next year, so they're not paying him a ton of money yet. But yeah, I think it's a bit weird, and it does. It's worthy of going, huh? So we'll do a film analysis, and we'll talk about whether he's deserving of his contract. We got July and August to do that. We'll get to it. My short list is Jordan Love, Anthony Richardson, and Trevor Lawrence. Those are the three quarterbacks I think I can get to before the season starts. Film analysis takes a long time. It's a lot of work, breaking down film and then turning it into a product that makes any sense. But we got 2 months to make 3 videos, and I think that's doable. I hope I'm being realistic. I got a lot on my plate, but I'm doing my best. ETN writes in, says, hey, Zach, who doesn't slack. I had an entire post and question about sports written, but I scrapped it for this when, while listening to your last episode, you mentioned being called to West Virginia as a state you want to visit most. I loved your answer. Here's why. ETN says, I was born and raised in San Francisco, and for 18 years of my life, I felt called and decided to take a huge risk and go to college in West Virginia. The exact opposite of San Francisco. Let's turn the brightness up, by the way. Brightness up on the camera a little bit. So, felt called to go to West Virginia, the exact opposite of San Francisco. The fact that the two places are exact opposites is what drew me to the state. I wanted to take a huge risk and blindly go into something that would challenge me. Keep in mind, I didn't even visit the state, nor the college in person ever. But after going to college in West Virginia for 2 years with 2 more years left, I can fully assure you that there are some excellent people in West Virginia. Sure, some of the stereotypes are true. And as someone who is half Mexican, there are times where I felt like that has played a role in how I've been treated. But more often than not, there are friendly people from the state, and there's a huge sense of camaraderie, especially when it comes to West Virginia University. The entire state rallies around the college teams because the state has no professional sports teams at all. Zach, I could not recommend enough for you to go to a Mountaineers football game. Whenever you do, visit the state of West Virginia. The tailgates, to the actual game, to the entire stadium singing country roads after a victory, to the post-game celebration that gets everyone out all night. It's fulfilled my college football dreams. The nature is also excellent. Cooper's Rock is a spot I would encourage you to go to, and the sunsets in West Virginia are the most beautiful thing you will ever see in your entire life. I am dead serious about the sunsets. They alone are worth being in the state. I went camping and played paintball for 2 consecutive days in rural West Virginia. I still have no idea where in bum blank I was. It was nowhere. On a trip with friends, and it was such a fun experience living the country life where nothing matters for a while but having fun, enjoying nature, and sharing laughs by a fire. This is far too long for a question, and I do not expect you to read this on the podcast whatsoever. I just wanted your eyeballs to see that someone understands your desire to go to West Virginia, and I wanted to share my experience given the background in blindly going to this state after living in San Francisco, California my entire life. So I'll ask what I was originally going to do when you post a new discussion for next week's episode after this one. If you ever had the ability to come to West Virginia before May 2026, I'll be more than happy to show you around Morgantown, where West Virginia University is, and watching a football game together would be dope. Or who knows, I'm a sports management major about to work an internship for equipment at a men's basketball team and all the Olympic sports in the fall. So maybe I'll get an internship or position with a football team in the future and could at the very least hook you up with some seats or field access. More than willing to talk about the state if you have questions or want me to elaborate more on things I've said or unique things the state has to offer. ETN, I just wanted to read that on the show. I think it's cool. I'm glad I'm not the only person who sees kind of an untapped gem in West Virginia, a place that to me really seems cool. I want to go there someday, and I'm glad I'm not the only person who sees some value in the beautiful state of West Virginia. I've never been there. You'd never been there before you went. I feel called there. I just feel like I got to go at some point. And yeah, thanks for the affirmation. Thanks for confirming my belief that West Virginia is a place worth checking out. Lucas writes in and says, yo, Hacky Zach. I don't like that. Hacky Zach. Like Hacky Sack, maybe? But I'm not a hack. I don't know. I get where you're going, but he says, have you heard of... Lucas says, I heard you are potentially getting a PS5. Any interest in setting up a college football league and the new game with the other Patreons once it's released? Yes, absolutely. However, I'm in sales, and I don't get paid until my stuff installs, so I haven't gotten paid very much for sales yet. We're kind of kicking that can down the road. Payments coming. I'm excited. Like a real good paycheck, I guess, but we're not there yet. It looks like I'm not going to be able to afford a PS5 between now and when the game comes out July 15th. That's just being honest. Do I like that? No. Of course I want to buy a PS5 and play NCAA 2024 when I can. But I also have to be responsible financially. The budget doesn't allow for it yet. When it does, I'll buy a PS5 and be getting the game, and we can play it and make videos about it. That sounds like a lot of fun. But for now, it's not on the cards. It's just being honest. Like, I made less than I thought. We're not... And I don't get paid until my stuff I've sold gets installed. So I got a while, honestly. The schedule is really backed up. And for now, we're not getting a PS5 anytime soon. But when I know, you'll know. And we can all play together. That sounds like a lot of fun. Justin says, yo, HVAC Zach. My partner and I have started discussing leaving Texas, which is where I was born and raised. It's definitely not going to be something that happens overnight. I'm predicting within the next 5 years, but in talking about places to go, Oregon came up. She said that Oregon has one of the highest salaries for her career, sonography. And to be honest with you, the idea of living there intrigues me. My question to you, Zach, is what places in Oregon would you recommend looking into? I don't think we want to live in or right next to a big city like Portland, but would like to maybe be 30 minutes to an hour away. Also want somewhere peaceful and beautiful with good vibes. We're going to visit the state in 2025 to explore and find a new possible area that we vibe with. So already having a few places in mind would help our visit to Oregon next year go smoother. I've heard good things about Vancouver, Washington, and Corvallis, Oregon. Thanks. Justin, I've got a lot to say. First of all, if you're from Texas, look, Texas and Portland, Oregon could not be more different places. I could not live in Texas, I think. It's flat. It's hot. The people are very different. I like Texas. I wouldn't live there. I think, if you're from Texas, born and raised, you're probably not going to like the debauchery that is Portland, Oregon. I would recommend Bend, Oregon, actually. Bend, Oregon is more of a country vibe. Politically a little more aligned with Texas. It's a big enough town you can get a good job. And Bend is cool, man. If you like adventures, Bend has beautiful mountains, warmer weather, a little more snow. It's just closer to what Texas is. Vancouver, Washington is where my family is, actually. Vancouver's great. The benefit to Vancouver, Washington is there's no state income tax. And what I'm learning about where I live in downtown Portland, taxes here are hefty and not fun. So I would recommend, for real, Vancouver, Washington. You'd like it a lot. But remember, you're in Washington, not Oregon. So it's a different state than Oregon. But however, the cost of living in Washington on the Washington side of the river is a lot lower. Politics are a little more right-leaning over there than here. There's no state income tax. I would not live in Portland if I were you. I don't know if I want to keep living in Portland, actually. I love where I live, like my building and my location. But the city it's the city, and it's different. You should really look at Bend, like for real. Check out Bend, Oregon. I think you'd like it a lot. If you want the Northwest, Spokane, Washington also is a good spot. I know they've got some hospitals there. She's a sonographer. And again, no state income tax is a big deal. That makes your money go a lot farther. So Bend is cool. Salem, Oregon is the capital. It's not very big, but there's probably some good jobs there worth considering. Bend, Oregon, though, is really the place I think you should check out. It's an adventure town. It's skiing, hiking, outdoor stuff everywhere year-round. Good beer, good breweries, lower cost of living than Portland. I agree. I think if you're from Texas, you wouldn't like Portland. But Vancouver, Washington's cool. Bend, Oregon's 3 hours away from Portland. That's pretty solid. There's some good suburbs. I really like Tigard, Oregon, where I work. It's great. It's kind of away from the nonsense of Portland. But yeah, that's just some helpful thoughts. Bend, Oregon's a place I think you should really, really look into. I think you'd like it a lot there, actually. Lino writes in, says, he says, hey, H, Zach. So I think he means HVAC Zach. I don't know. Lino, he says, longtime listener, now 23 years old, from Germany, living with my girlfriend. When I was younger and still lived with my parents, I always listened to your podcast, but my dad absolutely could not stand your voice at all. He would always say in a joking way that I should use headphones when I listen to the podcast. I greeted him with a loud, "Oh my goodness," as to annoy him, and he would leave the room when he heard your, in our old household, famous start of the episode. So he hates me. That's cool. Thanks for letting me know. I'm so glad a stranger in Germany doesn't like me. Thanks for the update, Lino. Thoughtful of you to let me know that your dad hates me. I love that. He says, I moved out 2 years ago to live with my girlfriend, and even though he used to get annoyed when he heard the podcast blasting from my room, I'm sure he would give up everything to hear it again because we don't see each other that often now. My dad, Matthias' birthday is coming up, and I'm sure he would love to get birthday wishes from his, quote, favorite podcaster. Would mean the world if you could do that. Keep up the great work, and please keep updating us on how the new job and living in the new apartment is going. Lino, are you sure your dad wants to hear happy birthday from me? Sounds like he hates my voice, but Matthias, happy birthday. I wish you the best. I hope we can be friends. I mean, my voice has developed over the course of the podcast. From 2017 to now, my voice is very different, but I also don't have a German accent. Maybe that plays a role. I have no idea. If you hate my voice, sorry, man. I can't change my voice, but I hope you're doing well, and happy birthday, you old man. Congratulations. Was that good enough? I don't know. It's too snarky. Not sure either. Artboard writes and says, hello, Kim and Zach. Greetings from Germany. So more Germany people. Germans is how you say that, actually. I listened to every podcast you've done for 5 years. I heard the good moments and the ones where you maybe weren't on your peak. I'm so glad you finally found a stable situation, and I hope this Euro will help you. I started watching the NFL in 2011, and because I had no connection to the U.S. at all, I chose the Denver Broncos as the team to support, mainly because of South Park. It was fun in the beginning, but the last decade made me miserable. The hope I had got crushed so hard, but I guess it gets better someday. It's cool to see the NFL hype in Germany growing bigger and bigger every year. So I wanted to ask you which team you would recommend to a new fan to support. Not a team at the peak and kind of boring to support, in my opinion, like Kansas City, but a team which is maybe still a bit undervalued with tons of talent ready to break out. I've got 2 teams in mind, one in the AFC, one in the NFC. Maybe 3 even. I think the Lions are a worthy honorable mention, but the 2 teams I think you should root for if you are looking for a new team. The Minnesota Vikings are a team that has a lot of talent, and what I like about the teams I'm about to tell you about, they've both got good coaches, which I have a hard time supporting a program or a team that doesn't have a coach I believe in. Kevin O'Connell knows quarterbacks really well. They've got a lot of talent. The question is their young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. Can he be good or not? We don't know. But they got a great head coach, Kevin O'Connell. They got a young rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, they're teaching. They've got Sam Darnold as well. They've got a lot of talent around that young quarterback to throw to. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. Why am I blanking on the name of their long-haired... who's that? What's that? Gosh, what is the name of their tight end? TJ Hawkinson. I was going to look it up, didn't even need to. TJ Hawkinson is awesome. I think if you're looking for a team to root for that's kind of on the rise, the Minnesota Vikings are one. And then another is the Miami Dolphins with Mike McDaniel, a head coach, and Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback. The Dolphins are going to be in the mix for a long time. Are they going to win Super Bowls? I have no idea. But they're going to score points and be interesting and fun to follow. And that's all that matters. I don't know if your team's going to win a Super Bowl, but the 2 teams I've suggested here are going to be competitive and interesting for a long time because of their coaching staffs, because they're offensive-driven teams, and they've got some decent weapons out wide at receiver. So Minnesota's going to probably have more of a unexpected breakout than Miami does because people expect Miami to be good. But both teams are teams on the rise I think are fun and safe to root for. And then final question of the day, Powell says, "Hi, Zach. Long-time listener since 2018, first-time commenting. Are you going to watch or talk about the 2024 Olympics? I think the Summer Olympics are an underrated watch when you consider basketball and hockey have ended and football has not begun yet. I also think watching a variety of sports you do not know much about and rarely get to watch is a treat every 4 years. Do you have a favorite event or topic for the Olympics? I enjoy your topics and hope you have some plans for the Paris Games. Powell." I don't. I'm not going to watch the Olympics. I don't even have a cable subscription. I literally do not have a way to watch the Olympics, nor do I care. I'm not going to cover it. I don't want to watch it. I don't care. I don't have traditional cable or TV at all. So that kind of nixes that plan. I don't have a way to watch the Paris Games. And I'm not shelling out $75 to watch something I don't care about. So I don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I just don't have much energy or patience or money to care about supporting and trying to watch the Olympic Games. Like if I spend $75 to get YouTube TV, I'm not making that money back by covering it on YouTube. So I'm not doing that. I'm good. I'm out. I'm good. Well, guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great day. We went for just about an hour. Next week's episode, or I guess it'll be this week's episode later this week. So July 5th, we'll talk about the Patriots. We'll talk about Tom Brady. Let's talk about some new stadiums. I want to dive into, this is a loaded word, the politics of stadiums. Does it make sense for cities to fund stadiums? Is an interesting question. I'm going to do some research and get back to you. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great day. And bam, we are done.